SoFlo Radio presents
Julio Honeys on Parade, your showcase for trans and gendered Cuban men. Join host Jorge Rodriguez as he welcomes his guests, Miss Liliana,
Hola.
Miss Rolando,
Hi, Papi.
Miss Martez,
Am I not beautiful?
and special guest, Richard Deacon. Julio Honeys on Parade is brought to you by Tux Tuckaway Pads and Precision Circumcision.
He was the greatest piece of ass I've ever had, and I've had him all over the world.
Right. Still, the only real non-local entity that we have is our exchange student, Daryl. And I love Daryl. And Daryl still has a local connection because he's a big fan of, he was a big Neely. He was a big Phil Hendry fan. He talks about them both all the time, references them all the time. He learned a lot. Sir Daryl, the Sir Daryl radio experience. And he's also friends and cohorts with Radio Dan, who does live here. He's a Boca boy. Okay. And they are on each other's network. So they trade barbs and talk about each other all the time. So it's part of the same extended soap opera family.
Right.
Although, honestly, you know, Daryl is a placeholder. And then his real function up until recently is he was the token.
Yeah.
But now that we have you,
Right.
we don't have to have Daryl on anymore.
Ah.
I mean, you could fill that role. You could fill the EEOP requirement, which, of course, we don't have here. I'm just concerned with imagery because, after all, this isn't Ferguson, Missouri, for the love of God.
Good God, Marvin, the niggers are here.
For a lot of reasons. Oh, you want to start?
Yeah,
You wanna start with
yeah,
that? Well, I guess I did. I invoked
Yeah.
the name Ferguson. You want to explain, because it sounds better when you explain it than when I explain it, the piece that you posted, Why I'm Not Marching in Ferguson.
Right.
Sum that up, because I'm not going to... Jack posted something. It was mentally compelling. It was a perspective, a different kind of perspective. And rather than read the article, why don't you hit the highlights of it? Just the points of what the article was all about, and and share your feelings on that matter as the station, at least in-house token entity over here. Well, I'm the spick. I mean, it's Big Rodriguez over here.
Yeah, it's an equal opportunity.
And we got a couple of crackers coming in, so before they show up and hog the spotlight, and they will. Why don't you share on that whole thing? Because everybody's got something to say about it. I do, because I post anti-police stuff all the time, and I shouldn't put it that way. I post anti-police brutality or anti-police overstepping their bounds. I'm very pro-police.
Right.
Pro-police doing their job. We need police. Police ought to be very well paid, well trained, well equipped, and well behaved, because they're my employees. Is my whole take on that, and I'll go into that more when the crackers show up. Exactly. So explain the piece that you posted, what it means, and why you agree with that.
Well, I don't want to try to make it a situation where I'm speaking on behalf of all black people.
Why not? Jesse Jackson does.
Well, yeah. Well, that's another.
You could be making Jesse Jackson money.
Yeah.
By speaking for all the black people.
But unfortunately, I don't.
But you don't.
But here's the thing about the post I had. And I put a lot of them up, but this one in particular, I felt that, marching and doing all these things, that was very proactive in the 60s. And, it wasn't done before. Now, you look at a person like myself, I'm in my early 30s, and I've had enough retention of all this stuff that has happened before me to prove to me that this is not going to prove anything. Marching and standing in front of law enforcement and yelling at them and telling them that it isn't right isn't going to change anything. What's going to change is a recognition by our fairer-skinned people, especially people who are in positions of power, to point out that, okay, this is not right. The same way that we could sit up here and get red in the face about a dog fighting being wrong. A human being got killed. This was no different in deer hunting, in my estimation of the situation.
Are you're saying that the cops go out there and hunt for black people, or just people in general?
Yeah, but nigger killers.
Okay, but so you don't believe that the protesting is the thing to do? What then do you believe is the thing to do? What ought people to do? And we'll start because first of all, if what should the people of color do? Because the other people, you got to get them to care. First of all, you got to get people of other colors or no color, genericans as I call them,
right,
to care about someone other than themselves, and that's a different
that's
task.
yeah.
All right. What should the people who already do care?
Well,
What should they do as opposed to marching?
That's the thing. That's the thing. There is nothing more to do, and the problem is that things will only escalate more because we're only a year and some change away from the whole Trayvon thing.
Right.
And the reaction, remember, this happened.
That solved everything, though. He got
most
shot, and
certainly.
everybody saw that it was that there was a horrible thing. Well, I mean, he was he wasn't even a security guard. He didn't qualify to have a security guard. He had no licensing whatsoever.
I guess because he got shot by someone of ethnicity, that made it.
Oh, weird ethnicity.
Yeah.
Hispanic Jew.
Right. But this is the thing that I'm seeing here, like with the situation that happened with Michael Brown. That happened on a Saturday. The looting and the rioting happened,
which by the way,
immediately.
Here's because I have all kinds of Facebook friends, and I wanted to talk about maybe changing the way that we communicate so that we can come to a civil discourse about policy here in America. My whole thing, and again, I'm like right off the heels of my trip to Montana, I'm doing a lot of channeling. Because my brethren there, they post things that, shall we say, are Fox News sympathetic. Like the pictures that they're posting are pictures of looters, and the caption on their memes, because we don't have the same Facebook friends.
Right.
Probably we have we have a lot of mutual friends, but they're people from down here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we don't have Montana friends in common.
Okay.
So they're posting things that are making the rounds in their circles. And it's what the memes that they're posting, because the memes that I post and I share are like the lady holding up the mirror to the riot police.
I like
and she's
that
like a
one.
Russian lady wearing a babushka, on her
Right.
head. Right. Those are the things that I post is anti-police state kind of stuff.
Right.
Which is funny because those are the kind of things that they post when it comes to Bundy Ranch. Rich white guy getting oppressed by the police. Rich white tax dodger getting oppressed by the police. That's one thing.
Right.
And I don't know is that the Food or Billy Corben?
That's Billy Corben.
Of course, got right into the Michael Brown thing. What they're posting is pictures of the rioters and the looters, and with captions saying, "Now, how does this help? How does this help? And indeed, how does it help?" And because we were just talking, because in case you haven't noticed, Jack over here is a person of color.
Yeah.
So
until you mentioned it, I hadn't.
You hadn't, and you probably wouldn't because he passes. He passes for white all the time. Better.
Yeah.
Now I can.
Well, we were talking about how I'm black.
There's so many people, and we're going to get into this later because welcome to the new studios. First of all,
It's beautiful.
And then
Thank
we'll
you.
Get into how black you are. We'll get into your blackness.
Everybody was concerned I would go Hollywood, and here I am.
Yeah, in Hollywood.
Here you are. Well, you're going to be. You're going to be Mr. Hollywood one of these days.
Mr. Hollywood, Florida. I love walking down the street here in Hollywood. First of all, a guy like you could get in a lot of trouble in a neighborhood like this.
Thank you. This is Billy Corben's second official appearance on the George Rodriguez show because you've been on the phone and this and that.
I know that it stopped you.
Right there
Here
now.
we are.
It did. Well, I'm getting back into my life, and now welcome to these studios.
Thank you.
These wonderful plush tables.
You're much safer
The
here
rooms
in
are a little
Hollywood,
small. Well, I saw gunplay in the lobby. They were arresting some.
Yeah, that's on
I don't want to say
your
what color
Facebook.
the guy was because I don't want Jack to think that I'm prejudiced.
Yeah.
Or anything like that.
I don't think it's hard to figure out though.
There was some black on black crime
See,
going
I
on
was
in
just
the
thinking
lobby.
about this. Like, I'm spoiler alert, I'm a little white dude.
Really?
And so I
we both
don't.
are. This is the little white dude show and Jack because Joe
Yeah.
Costello is also.
But my life experience is like completely different. Like I have no idea what it's like. You were just about to describe the suspect that the police took down in the lobby following some gunplay.
How about I just show you his picture?
I don't
It's like-
know what it's like to walk down the street and just by virtue of walking down the street having like people look at you sideways, particularly the authorities. I don't know what it feels like to
Right.
quote
We
match the description
swear
of the
no
majority of suspects that police are looking for and
We scare no one. Fourth grade girls, they don't
Right.
scare. We don't scare them.
But like,
Yeah.
but what's really disturbing through all of this, and it comes out with the Twitter trolls, and it comes out. There's unfortunately there's a lot of high profile cases that happen where this all kind of comes to bear, and it's extraordinary how little empathy people who can't relate to that. Like I say, I admit I can't relate to that experience,
Right.
but I sympathize and I empathize with it because I'm self-aware enough to know that I don't have that experience, so I can't exactly say what. And I remember the last time, of course, I hate to bring it up, we don't have to talk about it, but it was the Trayvon Martin incident, of course, the George Zimmerman verdict, and I tweeted at that time. I was like, the trolls were out, on Twitter, and
Sure.
I tweeted, I said, it's all good if you unfollow me for my Trayvon tweets. If Zimmerman had unfollowed Trayvon, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
I used to live here, and I have to explain Montana. I have to explain both places to each other. The people of Montana and Miami or South Florida, I have to explain them to each other all the time because there's a great deal of two-way ignorance when it comes to the people about the people of the other place over there. And the racism there is a very innocent racism, not unlike...
What is an innocent racism? It's like accidental racist? Like that
yeah.
so,
Like, I shot you.
Like out of
6
ignorance,
times.
like they really have no idea. And I was all locked and loaded with comebacks and barbs and quips because I was expecting to encounter racism, even though I very rarely did when I lived there. That's kind of an Idaho thing. There's a reason that there are state
because
lines.
Your last name ends in a Z? Is that why you anticipated racism?
Well, no, because I used to live there, so I'm very used to it. And in a place that is so homogenous, being different is not a bad thing. It makes you very
exotic.
Very exotic, and people ask you all kinds of questions, and they're very curious because they really don't know. So when you hear something ignorant,
what do beans taste like with rice?
Yeah,
and then when you add chicken, what is that like?
Yeah, they
Jorge.
they don't know that. They don't know that. They don't know that. They don't know to make that kind
am
of
I
a joke.
pronouncing that right?
They only
Is
know.
that your name?
Well, first, they don't have a
That's your whole
twang.
name?
That's
They don't.
Appalachia.
You're right.
And second of all,
I'm being racist.
They know.
I'm being
Come on,
ignorant.
Yeah,
you're being
reverse
Montana's.
racist.
This is the exact
There's
point.
such
They
thing.
know what they've seen on television. Do you understand? So I was ready with this comeback. If somebody would have said something about black people, I was ready to say, what can you possibly know? What do you possibly know? But it didn't come up. You see, it comes up as often as a problem with people from Alpha Centauri. You understand? It just because they're not there, it's a non-issue.
I honestly think you went too early. If you would have went last week,
again,
then it would have been.
They would have been commenting about something they see on TV. For example, and you're a film guy, I recently saw the Guardians of the Galaxy, and there were people of different races in this movie, like the tree
Intergalactic
guy
races.
and
Right.
green people and everything like
Rock
that.
people.
And so if you ask somebody,
people.
Yeah.
if you ask somebody on the street here in Hollywood, just on the way up here, hey, what's your opinion of the Alpha Centaurans? What do you think about?
That's gonna end in
What do you think about
gunplay.
green
I wouldn't
people?
do
They'd
that. I would just walk
what
up to
the
some
hell
guy.
are you talking
I'm
about?
not about that
goober?
life.
I don't have an opinion. They're not around.
Right.
That's what we see on TV. The people in Montana know as much about black people as we know about the Alpha Centaurians. It's what I saw on that movie, The Cree. There they go. They're blue people. They're called the Cree. You saw the movie, right?
did. No.
Oh, anyway, well, they got blue people.
Well,
And they're called Cree. That's their race. All right. So you ask someone in Hollywood, Florida, so what's your take on the Cree? And they go, well, according to Guardians of the Galaxy, which I just saw on a screen, I believe that the Cree have potential, yet they're very warlike and judgmental. And and they would have that opinion because they saw a stupid movie.
Right.
Okay. The same thing. The people in Montana, whatever opinion they have about black people, they have from what the TV has told them.
Okay.
And if you want to blame their opinion, blame the media's portrayal.
Right.
In their particular case, blame the media's portrayal because that's all they got, buddy.
Right.
They never met one in real life,
Yeah.
up close and personal, to be able to have an opinion other than that. That's what I mean by ignorant racism.
At the moment, the
Okay.
media happens to be doing a surprisingly and uncharacteristically good job, I think, of depicting what's going on in Ferguson, that experience. I think it took them some time to come around. Of course, you still got Fox News,
Right.
who's doing its thing, but that's
Sure.
not a surprise.
We all know
obviously,
about their
but-
agenda.
But I don't know. I think the media actually has kind of come around to this. I mean, you see Jake Tapper wandering around the streets going, here's a bunch of peaceful protesters over here. And then whip around, it's like Basra over here.
Right.
It doesn't, he goes, these two things just do not compute. There's no reason for this kind of militarized response.
what's the deal with
you would mention a comment earlier that someone says, like, what's this going to, right? You were saying,
Sure, the
looting,
memes that the other people
what
are
was it?
posting.
Yeah, so
Right.
what was it again?
How does this help? They were showing pictures of looting,
Right.
and the caption was, how does this help?
Let me answer that question.
No.
The media is there actually covering it. I'm not a
Right.
no justice, no peace guy. I believe in the system and all that crap.
Right.
I don't believe in pitchforks and torches and all that kind and charging City Hall and all that. I believe in working the system. I'm also a little white guy with a Twitter following that when I speak truth to power, which is just code word for trolling,
Right.
I get responses from people in government. I do that. I can't imagine that young black people have the same experience that I have.
No, far
so
from it.
obviously, so my point
No.
is that, truth be told,
They have a lot of sex.
I don't
Young
want-
black people,
Yeah.
for example.
I don't-
That's how their experiences are different
I
from
don't want
mine.
to justify the looting, but since that troll asked that question,
Sure.
what does this accomplish? Turn on
This
the
is a
TV.
meme.
It's on television. Eric Holder made it very interesting. I have to respectfully disagree with him, but he ordered a third autopsy of Michael Brown's body because quote by the feds.
Okay.
There was an autopsy by the county.
There was another one from the one in New York.
Yeah, there was the family. The family,
right.
I think, had a private autopsy, and now as we know, for the last week plus, the feds have been investigating. So he ordered a third autopsy that the feds would be performing. The FBI lab, I think, would be performing, and he said because of quote the extraordinary circumstances. I respectfully disagree. Unfortunately, I don't think there's anything extraordinary about this Michael Brown Ferguson situation. No. The difference is what's extraordinary is people, including the Black Attorney General of the United States of America and the Black President of the United States of America are actually paying attention to something that's going on in a small town. So, by the way, that's what the looting and the violence has accomplished. And I hate to say that it's accomplished anything, but unfortunately in this country, especially people in disenfranchised communities and underserved communities cannot get the attention of authorities without that, unfortunately.
Before you got here, the conversation me and George was having was the Facebook post I put up in regards to why I'm not marching or why I'm not for marching. We've become a Twitter-based, social media-based, bandwagon-based society where, okay, hashtag Ferguson, hashtag Michael Brown. And same thing when we did the same thing for Sandy Hook and Trayvon Martin.
Yes.
That's what we are. We've become a sensationalized society where, okay, a couple months from now when this guy's possibly acquitted, okay, we're not thinking about that anymore. And that's where
I think it's when the regular NFL season begins. So I think it's only I think there's only seriously, if we weren't in preseason, no one would care about this.
Right.
I mean, seriously, it's sickening, but it's probably true.
Yeah. And that's, to bring it all home with what you were talking about, George, with the Facebook post, there really isn't a point behind doing all this because, okay, I'm 33. We're around the same age.
Yeah, 36.
And, as far as the depth, I'm a black guy and, you're a white guy. Yeah. That's clear.
It's true.
We established that.
We established that. We did.
Yeah. Joe Castell is going to be the designated Italian.
I'm the spot.
Shows up.
I'm the spot.
Yeah.
All right. You have the situation where, we're not gravitating or we're marching is really going to make a profound change. Like you said, it takes looting or something to that nature. Like, oh my God, what are they doing over there in America? Because it's not just us. Because we've done this before.
Dude,
it's not just us.
Staten Island, that guy was just choked to death by NYPD. LAPD just tasered.
I post that stuff all the time.
Killed a guy. I mean,
they're out of control.
It's not extraordinary. It's not extraordinary, unfortunately. But where I'll disagree with you is in terms of the change it could possibly instigate. And I don't think Twitter is entirely ineffective either as a place to kind of gather or express your First Amendment rights either. I just think that there needs to be an outlet that leads to actual reform. Where I will agree with you is I think historically and statistically, the likelihood of this officer being indicted is very slim. And further, if he does, the likelihood of him being convicted is then even slimmer, I think. So I asked myself that what's the end game here? Right. It's the same question you're essentially asking.
Yeah, I'm.
What's the point?
Yeah, that's really where I'm at. I can't speak for like I told George, I can't speak for my whole race. But I know from my from what I've experienced in my lifetime, I haven't seen anything to where these particular actions are going to lead to some form of change.
Well, I'll tell you what's happening, and it's because of the violence. It's because of I've been tweeting about stories on the over militarization of police departments. It's not just police. My focus on Twitter is aggregating stories about public corruption and abuse of power. Because here's what I think, and this is what happens. Even when I see on Fox News, they have a couple black dudes going, "Well, what about black on black violence? Statistically, only 2% of black people who are murdered every year are by cops. The other 90, we should be talking about the other 98%. It's like, well, wait a second, hang on. There's a certain percentage, we know this in a society, of criminals. Right. People who are prone to violence, to breaking the law. Unfortunately, it's a reality. We also have an extraordinary amount of resources that we dedicate in this country to fighting crime. On law enforcement agencies, on the criminal court system, on jails. Okay,
so we have a math thing.
But here's the problem. When law enforcement officers or people in power or public officials or bureaucrats or presidents or whomever, when they break the law, that's much more corrosive and damaging to society
Sure.
because that breaks the social contract.
and they
They're
get
not
it-
supposed to.
That's
And they
exactly
get a
the point.
slap
There
on the
are
wrist.
there are
Right.
employees.
And there's no accountability.
No
That's the
accountability
problem.
for it.
Okay, so if you can eliminate that 2% of unarmed black men that are killed every year by law enforcement officers, isn't that something you should want to do?
Here's a
Yes.
factoid. Here's a factoid.
One has nothing to do with the other.
Sure,
First
exactly.
of all,
It's a total.
these
it's
are
a total
these are
straw
civil
man.
servants who swore an oath. They're my employees. First of all, so I have a right to say something
your
about
what?
it. The cops, they're my employees.
Really?
They're civil servants. They're public
Right.
servants.
I know.
They swore an oath to protect and serve me, Mr. Sarcastic. But that's the focus is totally shifted. It's like all of the attention and all of the effort seems to be placed on the safety of the police officer. When last time I checked, you're volunteering for a dangerous
And by
job
the way,
and being
statistically-
equipped
and
to
statistically,
deal.
by the way, it's a crappy job, and I wouldn't want to do
Sure.
it. But I will say this:
But it's voluntary.
It's actually far safer than a lot of other jobs. It's certainly far
That-
safer than being a citizen. I mean, 400 people are killed. 400 people are killed a year by police officers. Many of them unarmed, and almost all of them are ultimately found after an investigation to be justifiable homicides. That is like a statistical impossibility. That's
Sure.
that's like saying the police
Right.
are infallible. They're not human. They never make mistakes.
Well,
Because
so-
all
Right.
humans make mistakes.
And
It's not possible.
you shouldn't be allowed to make that kind of a mistake.
Right. If you are charged with this, what does Uncle Ben say? With great power comes great responsibility.
responsibility.
That is what
You
he
know?
said.
So
And
this
he
is
made a
what- this is
great
the-
rice.
This is the.
I thought you were talking about the rice.
I
Yeah,
know you
yeah,
both
yeah.
were.
No,
'cause
no,
you're
Spider-
racists.
Spider-Man.
Both of you. That's why.
Spider-Man, yeah.
I was thinking about Spider-Man.
I'm like Uncle Ben, and
Uncle-
then as you went along, I picked
Uncle
up.
Ben was a wise man. with
But
great-
here's a quick factoid as you talk about law enforcement. Miami's smallest police force has gotten M16s, armored cars, and grenade
Yeah.
launchers
All of them
from the
have.
military.
Coral Gables.
Well, this is part of
Well,
a
this is
larger.
Miami Gardens.
Miami
Right.
Gardens recently got this.
Well, Miami Gardens is important because Miami Gardens actually has a documented systematic. Has a documented system of violating the civil rights of every single black male that passes through the city.
Yeah.
That's documented.
Miami Gardens.
The stop and frisk.
Well, that's how they
policy
keep their
that
property
have.
value up.
That's
Definitely.
this is what's extraordinary. And look at the folks who are supposed to represent these people on the ground. When I say these people, I mean the citizens of Miami Gardens. The
black
vast
people.
majority of the police department there. They don't even live in Miami Gardens. they have nothing invested.
Some of them are from Nebraska, as I heard. I mean, because I'm from the area, and I've had people who have gone to Miami-Dade, gone to the police academy there, and weren't even considered. You had a lot of out-of-towners from Nebraska, Montana, George,
Yeah.
and you have
What?
yeah,
It's a big state.
yeah,
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Different kind of people there.
and they need nigger killers too.
Well, that's again.
Friskers.
Idaho.
By the way, just for the
Idaho
record, that was a black
Panhandle's
guy
right
that
there.
said that.
Yeah.
I think we should
Yeah,
let
well,
people know
we're
who
on
are
camera. They
listening.
can see us.
Oh, good. All right.
Yeah.
That's why Jack's on the show. It's a little
Listen-
trick I learned from Howard
listen,
Stern. Have a
Oli-
black person on the
and-
show. You can be
and
racist.
What's the best thing that Oscar Brandon and Oliver Gilbert and Barbara Jordan can think of to help their constituents whose civil rights are being systematically violated as a matter of policy by the Miami Gardens Police Department? Give billionaire Stephen Ross hundreds of millions of dollars in public money. For
Oh,
his
man.
private
Hey,
stadium.
hey,
that's the best solution that
that
they
stadium-
can come up with for their people.
That stadium is going
That's
to be
good
the
for
shit when it's done.
everyone.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, but this is the best
I'll never be
thing.
able to go, but it'll
this
be
is
awesome.
the
Yeah.
you can afford it. Nobody
Yeah.
can afford it. Who lives in Miami
In
Gardens?
Miami Gardens, right.
But this is the best thing. Your politicians, the people you elect to represent your best interest in the community. This is the best thing they can come up with to help reform, to help restore the civil rights. These unquestionably are civil rights violations that should lead to arrests.
Well, you know what I did? That was
They don't
very,
arrest anybody. They just stop and frisk everybody.
You know what I did? That was very South Florida of me. I went back to my Haitian roots, and collided with my Cuban friends, and I exited. I went on an exodus. I left Miami Gardens, and I'm currently a resident of Hollywood because it just got to a point now where I can't even go around the corner in Miami Gardens and not. Well, you had a broken taillight. No, I didn't. You had a vanity plate on there. You're not supposed to have. I didn't know that.
I've been pulled over for the broken taillight.
And that's because you're black.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah. Well, because I was in a black neighborhood.
you like black women.
shining a flashlight on cars during my repo days. They don't like me.
Meanwhile, Sweetwater, city of Sweetwater has a tank. They got a tank from
So
the
the
military.
militarization, obviously, because part of the bigger thing, because you're a very socially conscious guy, our military budget is so bloated. It's more than what the next 21 nations' budgets combined, the next closest ones. And our military budget is so bloated that the Pentagon has so much surplus crap that they're just giving it away. Here's a tank. Here, and they're doing it all over
to
the
a town
country.
of 5,000 people to protect their annual pumpkin fair. Or pumpkin
And
festival.
the Bill Maher pointed out, violent crime is down like 40%, in the past 10 years, and that's a good thing.
But I think SWAT team raids are up like 1,000%
are way
in the
up.
last 20 years.
So what are we even talking about over here? Obviously, this is not. We're not addressing a problem. All of this militaria isn't coming as a response to a problem. It isn't being requested. It isn't like, oh, these small towns are being overrun by zombies. They need a tank. It's just surplus.
In Tampa earlier this year, a SWAT team raided a house and killed a guy who thought that he was being robbed. He didn't know what was going on because all of a sudden they could have knocked on the door, but they had these no-knock warrants. They knocked the door down. They're screaming. There's guns. He got shot and killed. They found $2 worth of pot in his home, and the police the police investigate the police. They found that this was all by the book. And I say, if that's by the book, don't you need to rewrite the book?
Indeed.
Like, isn't that what needs that? The flash bomb that went off in that baby's crib and blew the baby's face off.
Right.
But that was proper.
Wow. That's proper.
That's by the book.
Sure.
Wait a second. What is this fucking book? I want what is?
Well, Farm and reading and seeing
Dwight
all
D. Eisenhower, the president of the United States.
He was
warned about it in his. He was peacing out. He was like, "I'm out of here."
Yeah, letters back there.
Yeah,
not the actual letter.
The famous military industrial complex speech. He put that into the lexicon.
And nobody listened. No, nobody, because
everybody listened. But what the hell can we do about it?
I think we've been like rocked into this cradle of bullshit. Like what you were saying about the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Cradle of Bullshit. That was the name of my band in high
punk
school.
band.
Oh yeah,
Cradle of Bullshit. Yeah.
See, you guys are prophetic.
I think I got your EP.
You guys are prophetic with that. But the thing is that us here in America, it took something in our lifetime like 9/11 to like really rock us. Or OJ or something like that, where a lot of us are fed this Hollywood fantasy of what things could look like, Minority Report or whatever, but we never really.
It wasn't about black people.
No, it wasn't. Okay. It wasn't.
Just because we're talking.
Yeah, whatever. But the thing that you see here is that
because I went to the movie.
To watch it,
thinking it was going to be about black people because I watch all the black movies.
Minority Report.
Yeah,
I got the bootleg, so
it was horrible. What I wish the movie had been would have been better than what the movie was.
By the way, the Alfred Hitchcock movie Blackmail is also not about black people.
No,
okay,
a blackmail. I thought it was a porno by. Anyway, but
that's all of them.
Yeah,
all the pornos.
But the thing is that you guys, in talking to you guys look at the human situation, good, bad, or indifferent. It's not a thing of he's black or he's Hispanic. I gotta think twice about it. Like, no, doesn't make sense. And that's what some of these actions that you're saying with what's happening in Ferguson, people are looking at it more from what it universally it is wrong.
Well, since 1961, since Dwight Eisenhower's military-industrial complex warning speech, the pendulum has been swinging for 50 plus years. The pendulum has been swinging towards more, higher budgets for the military, higher budgets for police.
That's crazy.
More equipment, more, and then 9/11 expedited that because you had the Patriot Act. You had all of a sudden the nation responsible for some of the worst bureaucracies ever, the IRS, etc. We created the worst bureaucracy. Created the worst bureaucracy since 9/11. I do want to leave on a positive note, though, before we break.
And I would say
that
okay, good.
I think what's happening and the upside of the Ferguson situation, if there's anything that's going to be accomplished, it might not be an indictment of the officer. It might not be a conviction of the officer. By the way, I don't know that either of those things would be just because I don't have all the facts just yet.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is there's never accountability for these situations. In Miami, we saw 7 unarmed black men killed by police in like a year. And nobody did anything. Nobody lifted a finger. The Justice Department came down here, did an investigation, and found that it was outrageous. That the amount of time they spent investigating these things is gratuitous. They even found that at least 3 of the 33 shootings that the state attorney's office in Miami-Dade investigated, they found improperly that the shootings were justified. Okay, the state attorney's office in Miami-Dade County has. The current state attorney, Catherine Fernandez-Rundle. She is the first state attorney.
How long is she gonna hold that title?
She's the first state attorney, okay, since the Clinton administration. Since Janet Reno left for the Clinton administration, the Attorney General, she has never once prosecuted a police officer for an on-duty shooting, despite the proliferation of these. By the way, I'm not saying that there should be any kind of mandate or there should be any kind of, thing where you're like, oh, there you have
quota.
to. Quota, exactly.
Right.
But that's statistically impossible. That
Sure.
100% of these shootings are justified. It's absolutely impossible.
is.
But here's what's happening in Ferguson. That pendulum I was talking about, that's been swinging towards the police state, as
For the
people
last
call
50
it.
years.
I think it's starting to, it's going to push back.
It has to. First of all, that's part of the old guy over here. The cycle does repeat itself.
Right.
The pendulum does swing. And where we're at right now, I call it the evolution solution. What we need to be aware of with the military-industrial complex and everything, because I'm a science guy and I like history and everything and evolution. If you make something in this business world, and I'm a business guy. This is a corporation. We're SoFlo Radio Incorporated. I want to make money. And as a businessman, I can tell you that when something makes me money, I repeat that. And when something doesn't make me money, I cease that. And that principle applies to every entity, not just individuals, but it applies to police forces, it applies to the military, it applies to the government, it applies to all of the corporations. When you create an entity like the military, and you create a situation where the more conflict there is in the world, the more money you make, guess what? The people that profit from the making of that money will seek ways to increase the level of conflict. When a police force's budget increases, if there is conflict, they will seek an increase in conflict. They're not going to seek to reduce their budget. So it's all a money thing.